All right, welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey, and I'm excited for today's guest. He is an amazing chiropractor. His name is Dr. Brett Jones. He is located in Oakland, California. And what I love about Dr. Brett, he's really created a different culture, just in the way that he speaks, in the way that he trains, and just, from anything. Like if you check out his social media, the flow of his office, just the way he's interacting with people, the way he's loving on people. And it's a whole different environment that he's creating. And he is somebody that is dedicated to just becoming a master in chiropractic, becoming a master of the art of chiropractic. And not only that, he's dedicated to help train as many students and doctors to do the same thing. He's a super inspiring guy. He has a lot of different programs that he has going on right now. And I'm sure that, he's going to be getting into that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, Dr. Brett, for jumping on here with me.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate your words and what you have noticed. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Dr. Brett, I'm sure there's some people on here that are, new to you that might not follow you on social media right now. So if you want to just, take a few minutes and kind of talk about who you are, your path to how you became a chiropractor, and just, what led you on this journey that you're on right now.
Would love to. I'm from Southern California, and I grew up in a family of 4 boys, and all athletes and all very, very active. And God bless my mom. She took us to all of the things as we grew up. And you just go to an event that really shaped or was a catalyst for, I believe, where I am today. And the biggest change in momentum in my life came from the loss of my brother. So I had an older brother, and in 1999 he died in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
He was 18 years old, and I was 14 at the time. And that event really changed our entire family structure, our belief system, our values, our relationships, and really our perception of our spirituality and how we perceive the world. We were a very Christian family growing up, going to church on Sunday and Wednesday. Not long after my brother passed, my family stopped going to church. At the time, it was real hard to believe in an all-powerful and all-knowing and all-present God that would let that happen, because we couldn't understand it in the moment. And so we lost our faith. My dad lost his job shortly after that. He was a highway patrolman, was involved in a car accident, and they said he took too much time off. And so he lost his job. My parents ended up splitting. My dad was an introvert. My mom was an extrovert. And so that uniqueness and difference brought them together. However, that uniqueness and difference during times of grief can tear you apart. My mom needed more external showing of what my dad was feeling on the inside. And I think she wasn't getting it. And it's not that my dad, didn't care and wasn't feeling the sadness and grief that everybody else was feeling. I just think he was processing it differently. And I know my dad cares, because I know my dad to this day, we're almost 18 years later, and he'll still bake my brother a birthday cake for his birthday every year. Yeah. So it's like that love was there for sure. And so after my parents split, my mom ended up leaving. She had become real depressed. You could say borderline suicidal, and she had been a stay-at-home mom all my life. And then was just about a year and a half later, after my brother passing, that she had gotten to a point where she felt that if she didn't leave, that she potentially would take her life. So she left. And we didn't hear from her for a while. And so this was a mom that had been at home, like I said, all my life. So like I said, that one event really turned everything on its head. And um, I was extremely disconnected at that moment, and I felt lost, and I was suffering greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And my saving grace at the moment was I don't know. I think I was born with this enormous will, because I mean, you can even remember me and my dad and my brothers would wrestle, and they would call me the Brahma Bull, because even if I was getting my ass kicked, I'd never stop. Yeah. And so that work ethic was there, and I had some talent for sports, and mainly football, and I just dedicated to it, and I latched onto it because I knew that based on current situations, that if I wanted something better for myself, I was going to have to make it for myself.
Right.
And one of the only ways out, because we live in kind of the hood, and one of the ways out of the hood was, to get a scholarship, because I wasn't going to be able to pay for it. So I put my head down, went to work, and I actually ended up getting a scholarship to go play football in Colorado. But
That's awesome.
It was great, and it was amazing, and I ended up starting, and it was all league and all conference and all this stuff, but yet I was depressed, so that's what I get into. It's like you can have this physical well-being and functionality and performance, and I was mentally ill. I was still disconnected, because I thought it was all me this whole time, like needing to do this, and that God wasn't there for me when I needed him, so it wasn't. So I didn't have any connection, and because of it, I started to develop similar mental habits, that I believe my mom had.
Mm-hmm.
So the depressive qualities of not wanting to do anything, substance abuse, just hiding.
Was this all through like high school or college, or what was
Or
this?
college?
Yeah.
Or college. Like I said, my dad was in a bad accident, ended up having a failed back surgery.
Mm.
And so I was on a lot of medications. And, he would get shipped. Like, I'm not a joke. I didn't even know this was possible, but I remember going home to see him at times, and he would have envelopes that would have like 250 Norcos in them. So they would just ship him his pain meds. Amazing. And so he was on, he was on gabapentin. He was on Norcos. He was on Vicodin, and like all of this muscle relaxers. It was all at the same time. And of course, here homeboy is just getting package after package of all this stuff. And so we started stealing them. And I don't even know if he knows this, but we were stealing them, and then I was taking them and drinking and taking pills, and again just numbing myself from expression, because it hurt, and didn't know how else to feel with it and deal with it, because I had no spiritual theory, religion, or whatever you want to call it. And that lasted until but it's weird. There's always something on the back of my head that was kept telling me to become a chiropractor. And one of the reasons was when my dad was initially injured, he did go see a chiropractor, and I thought it was cool. And I was an athlete, so I was interested in human performance, and I was interested in how to be bigger, faster, and stronger. And I knew the more I learned about the human body, the more I realized I didn't know. And I was just intrigued by it. And so I was thinking about the different health professions that I could potentially go into. And then chiropractic just kept coming back up. And I'm lucky it did, because after I finished college and I graduated, I decided to make the decision that I want to be a chiropractor. I took a tour of the schools in California, because I quickly realized that I'm a California kid. And after being in Colorado and freezing my butt off, I realized I did not want to do that anymore. So I toured the 3 schools in California and was almost decided to go to Palmer West, just based on location. And I liked the atmosphere, not the atmosphere in the school, but I liked the atmosphere around the school.
Yep.
And then I went to Life West, and the atmosphere around the school is kind of crappy, to be honest. It's like it's an industrial park. I think it's an old Sears warehouse.
Really? I haven't been over to that campus, so I was wondering, how that campus was.
It's not the coolest campus.
Got
but what is dope about Life West is the people. I noticed an immediate difference stepping onto that campus versus the other two, LACC and Palmer West. At LACC and Palmer West, nobody wanted to talk to me. Everybody seemed like they were in their own world. And they looked, to be honest, they looked sad. It looked like there wasn't much life.
Yeah.
And then I went to Life West, and people were upbeat. People were like giving me high fives, asking my name, where I'm from. It seemed like they were excited about chiropractic. I'm like, fuck, this is where place where I want to be. And I met this kid while I was there. His name was Ben Glass, and we started rapping a little bit. And he ended up started telling me about chiropractic philosophy, and then he had this book, and it was an interview, with some of the top 20 docs in the profession about philosophy. And this whole time, when I was researching chiropractic, I had no idea about the philosophy. I was just interested because it seemed like I could use my body to help people.
And for like sports and like things that you were into.
Like sports, whatever, like how the rest of the profession is confused about chiropractic. But then I heard about this philosophy thing, and it was intriguing. And I didn't necessarily know what to do with it, but I ended up taking the book. I bought a book from Ben. He had bought like 20, and he was like just slanging them.
What book was it?
Chiropractic Revealed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually written by a dude that ended up working at Life West, like after I'd been there for a little bit. His name is David Shiner, and he goes around and he does promotion for our like different campuses, but like student outreach, which is awesome. But he wrote this book, and basically, like I said, the book is really just the interview. Or basically there was like, I don't know, like eight or 10 questions that he asked all the people, and he just recorded their answers, and that's the book. So I'm reading the book on the flight home back to SoCal from the Bay, and then I come across this dude Pasquale Cirasoli, and he was a chiropractor in New York, and he practiced for a long time. I think he was like reached his 90s and almost still in practice. And I'm reading this book. And reading about this guy and his answers to some questions, and then there was like this quote, and he said, like our suffering is non-existent on the physical realm. It's because of a physical cause. It's really only due to our disconnection to our spiritual self. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for all obvious reasons, like I've already gone over, like that was like, I don't know, it was a thing that I needed to hear in the right way at the right time. That was like, boom. And finally, it's not like I hadn't been searching. When I was in college going through all the stuff I was going through, I was going to different, church groups, and I was learning about different religions, and I was trying to put myself in a culture where I could feel like I could trust spirit again. But it wasn't until I got connected to the chiropractic philosophy that I regained my spirituality. And so I made my decision to go to Life West and become a chiropractor, mainly based on discovering the philosophy and the bigness of what chiropractic was initially designed to do, which is connect the physical to the spiritual. And so I started there, and then from there it's flowered out.
Yeah, that's just so incredible. I mean, like you got to go. I mean, your story is it's heartbreaking. But to see how it all lines up to like lead you to that moment, like obviously it's obvious, like it's really bad that, your dad had the car accident and he had the issues with the pain medications, but without that experience, you would have never found chiropractic. And it just, the path that it's led you on it. And then you got to enter chiropractic school with already like a strong chiropractic principle, which most chiropractors never find.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is, they say it's hard to see the forest amongst the trees.
Yep. And
so there was a lot of trees, in those early stages where the bigger picture wasn't revealed, and you see now looking back, all those wounds and all those traumas were pretty much prepping soil that I could have a potential greater impact and a greater capacity. That's why I see the wound as. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of times we just because the trauma can destroy you, right? Mm-hmm. I say pressure can either mold you or fold you, make you or break you. Yep. So, but the deeper the wounds creates a deeper capacity to heal and to have empathy. right? So if I have gone through an experience, I will have a greater level of empathy for those that have gone through a similar experience, be able to create a greater rapport and composite and facilitate a higher level of healing for those same people.
Right.
And so a lot of times, again, we look at the struggle and it can be viewed as a curse or it can be viewed as a blessing. And I say the trouble is the majority are not supported in a way that it ever becomes a blessing.
No,
And
no,
so
definitely.
what I'm here to do now, as part of my purpose, is to help awaken people to their inherent power and evolve human consciousness. And so that means different things, and it shows up in different ways. But ultimately, I'm here to awaken people to healing, and I think healing is a word that has become foreign to society, because when you talk about health and if you mentioned wellness, I think wellness is confusing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about health, most people think symptom reduction and or having no symptoms.
Right.
Which the truth is, in healing, the majority of time, you will have an increase in what you feel.
Right.
Because to heal, you have to step into the darkness to actually fully become aware of it, because healing means to recognize your wholeness. And by recognizing your wholeness, you will recognize where there is a disconnect from that which already is. And when you recognize that, it is painful. So that's why I'm even having, to be honest, a struggle with the chiropractic profession right now. Because to me, the chiropractic profession at this moment, as a whole, has become a natural symptom reducer.
Oh, I mean, I know there's too many offices that are basically like a Tylenol of chiropractic. And, I'm in Florida, and it's just like, I mean, Florida is really bad with like personal injury offices. And
Yeah.
it's really sad because there's so much more, and it's almost like it's a last resort to a lot of these chiropractors when they fail, and then they go after the insurance, and it's just they're coming from the wrong place. And that's why I love so much what you're doing and helping a lot of these students realize that there is so much more, and like they can really, really affect the health and just overall well-being of so many people, if they go just a different route.
Right.
Yeah.
And that route starts with them.
Exactly.
Because the route is not what you do. The route is who you are. So we talked about healing. What about what it means to be a healer?
Yeah.
And this is another thing people forget, and they get lost in the technique, they get lost in the treatment, they get lost in all this stuff. But healing does not come from something outside of you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's no
healing.
You're never gonna
to
like
be
full. I mean, like just on an outside. I mean, you're never gonna take a pill that just heals. Like, there's just no outside thing that's ever gonna just heal you.
Absolutely. Now, as a healer, what is required is self-work and presence. So you got to clear your own interferences. Means that you have to step into the darkest places of yourself, and where you have been out of integrity, and where you have been have your past traumas that have become layered subluxation patterns of your body and of your mind and of your soul. And the clearer you get, the more you can be present in the moment, and the more you exude light and love, that the person that you are working with, helping facilitate their healing process, that they can't hide from themselves anymore.
Right. And you like, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, like, people can tell, if somebody is genuine. Like, people know if you're being present, and they know what's fake. And, if you're present and you genuinely care about them, and like, they're going to feel that. And I think that's when the true healing takes place, is because it allows them to be their authentic self. And,
right.
Yeah.
Manipulation will mirror manipulation. So when I am communicating in a way to manipulate somebody's thought patterns, it will also then be received with another manipulative communication. When I am authentic in my truest self and communicating and expressing as my truest self, I can allow others to do the same. And if they are expressing at their truest self, then they are recognizing their wholeness.
Yep. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like, have you, I know, like, just to kind of shift pace real quick, Dr. Brett, he also, like, he has a lot of training programs that he does for young students. And so, Dr. Brett, can you kind of explain how that's set up? Because I know you have like different clubs and different campuses, right? And like part of their routine is they work out early in the mornings together. They're having time where they're having like intentional time where they're, meditating and getting in the right set of mind. That way they can have that level of intent to better serve patients and just to be there for, people they care about. If you want to kind of walk people exactly, what's going on with that and how you're really helping students really understand that and train on that.
Yeah. So I entered chiropractic school with a deepening understanding of the chiropractic philosophy, and I would further explore it. And I've read plenty of green books, and then that just spread to other spiritual texts, and that path is continually evolving. And so I went in with an understanding of not just the philosophy, but also the history of chiropractic and what chiropractic had done. And then I entered the student clinic of the chiropractic school I was at. And it was nowhere close to anything I'd ever read about. Meaning that, if you read some of the old chiropractic texts, you are hearing some amazing stories of people healing. And you would expect that there would be a certain level of artistry that had to connect that. So it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to deliver it. So the delivery of the principle was missing. What was happening was these students were uncoordinated. They were racking like jamming necks, not honoring a body. It was a lot of things happening to something instead of with something. And the sad thing is, Life West is known for having, more technique and pretty much than the majority of schools. I think it actually has the most techniques out of any school in the country. Which then you're like, okay, well, you probably spend more time on technique, and they do. And so even with that level in our own clinic was a bad representation of artistry in chiropractic. And there's a difference between art and technique, which we can get into later. So from witnessing that, I noticed a void. And here I am, an athlete all my life. Since I was basically 3 years old, I've been a multi-sport athlete. And the one thing I knew that if I wanted to be better at any type of skill, you had to train for it.
Right.
That has been a principle that if I want to have a better jump shot, I got to practice the jump shot. And if I want to have, a better 40-yard dash time, then I'm going to have to find ways to train the 40-yard dash. And so the same thing goes in chiropractic. It's a skill. The adjustment is a skill. And if it's a skill, it can be trained. And so what was missing was that they were teaching people how to set up and the vectors of the adjustment, but never actually training the skill of delivering it. And of course, a chiropractic adjustment or manipulation performed badly is as destructive as it can be constructive. So the last thing you'd want to do is just get a bunch of people, or what is the most saddening thing in chiropractic, encouraging students to go on a mission trip to another country to deliver bad chiropractic so they can learn how to adjust.
No, exactly. I mean, you see that way too much, and you're right. That should never be the case. Like, that should be when you're at your best, like when you're seeing people that need it the most in other
you should
countries.
Serve at the highest level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was my dilemma, right? Yep. So I noticed the void. I'm an athlete. I've trained my whole life. So basically what I started doing is I wrote down what I thought would make an awesome chiropractic adjustment. Like, what were the qualities of it? I'm like, well, so you got speed. Seems like there's a power component, a balance component, coordination, mindfulness, presence. And then I went to go ahead and interview some of, who I had been told were some of the better adjusters in chiropractic. So I started to interview these people, and I was asking them, like, what did you do to get where you're at? And so if you look up Adjusting Ninjas on YouTube, and you'll see some of like the interviews I did in 2010, in 2011, interviewing, some of the better chiropractors at that time. And I, from there, developed the characteristics and the qualities and the traits that went into a masterful chiropractic adjustment, and then developed a training program for that. And so basically started training every day. When I was in the gym, I was training chiropractic. And then it came a point where other people were interested in what I was doing. And so we started meeting at specific times. And then it was, I believe, my 7th quarter in chiropractic school. There was a group that was going to leave on a mission trip to go learn how to adjust. And I said, that's a horrible idea. If you guys are willing to meet me at 6 a.m. in the morning, 2 days a week, I will train you to get ready for your mission trip. And so that group committed. There's 12 of them, committed the entire quarter, 6 a.m. in the morning, hour and 15 minutes. So we start school at 7:30, so we finish at 7:15, 2 days a week, the entire quarter, nobody missed.
Wow.
Nobody was late.
No, not one person was late.
Not one person was late. Nobody was, because I said if you're late, you're out.
Yeah, that's incredible. How did their mission trip go after that? I'm sure it went great.
Well, went a lot better than it would have went.
Yeah, right. Not gonna say
they weren't polished docs, but
right, yeah, but they were more prepared. Yeah.
So the next quarter, so first quarter we had 12, the next quarter we had 26, and then the next quarter we had 30 something. And so it continued, and then it became a 4-day program. So after you finish, going through the program, the first quarter, then we would have higher level stuff that we teach the second quarter that you came back. And that continued until I graduated, and it still continued today. Life West, which is, again, the school I graduated from in 2013, they average 80 to 100 students per quarter training and adjusting ninjas. Awesome. In 2013, so basically, by the time people graduate at Life West, the majority of the school has gone through the Ninjas program. In 2013, after I graduated, we started doing these camps. So it was basically a 2-day camp, training camp, to go take this work to other people, to other schools. And so at this moment, this last weekend I was in Dallas, we just taught our 34th training camp, basically in the last 2 years. So basically we didn't really get going until mid 2014, I think it was. So a little over 2 years now, 34 training camps. We have clubs on, I believe, 17 different campuses around the world. We've taught in 6 different countries. We've taught in London and France and Jamaica and New Zealand, Australia, and here, and just got invited to Puerto Rico and Mexico, and so we've gone all over. And again, the training, what the training is yes, there's a outdoor, you can call it, it's not really a warm up. It's an interval type of movement, but functional movement, sustainable movement. So
like
you learn sustainable
type motion, or
it's not yoga. I mean, I push people foundation training is in a lot of the work that was developed by Dr. Eric Goodman, and that's the basics of learning a proper hip hinge when people are palpating. You look at pictures of most people that they post on the internet of them palpating or adjusting, and their spine is in horrible position.
Yeah.
So we teach how to use a proper hip hinge and how to have a proper squat. So just biomechanics of sustainable movement. But then we also push, so we'll enter that 90% heart rate, to get, maximal effort. So that when after we get done with that, 15, 20 minute movement portion, we go inside and we do Sid Williams 49 breaths. And so the 49 breaths are basically a series of breaths, diaphragmatic breathing with affirmations in between. And so it's breathing and affirmations, meditation. After we finish that, then it's more of a chiropractic specific movement integration, where we're doing hip mobility, wrist mobility, shoulder mobility, just working basically everything that you would use in a chiropractic adjustment. And then following that portion, we go into artistry training. So now it's getting more skill specific, where you're actually doing different setups for whether it's, cervicals, thoracics, lumbars, pelvis, analysis, and then also training the actual motion. And again, that was the piece that was missing, was actually training what does the motion look like? Where do you originate the power from? How do you engage different muscular chains? What's the energetic and spherical component of the adjustment? And so you're actually training the muscles and the biomechanics and of the impulse of the actual delivering of the adjustment without jamming on people so that you're messing people up in the process. So you're going to train it. It's just like, man, you go to the batting cage before you enter the game, so we're in the batting cage, and a batting cage, we're simulating what it would be like to give a chiropractic adjustment, so that when we go to do a chiropractic adjustment, our body is trained. And so we've delivered an impulse like that before. It's coordinated, it's quick, it's powerful.
You're not getting overuse injuries as well. Like, it's protecting you as well as, as well as the patient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
the training program. So that's Adjusting Ninjas. Like I said, it's all over the world. We teach training camps, usually 1 to 2 a month. And then the umbrella corporation to that now is Kairos Training Culture. It's Kairos Training Culture. And Kairos Training Culture, it's basically anything in the world of chiropractic training is what we produce. So now there's online modules. So people can, go online. We're about to release a 21-day training program for those that are interested in the work that we do and what's it look like to train your body, your mind, and your soul in the realm of chiropractic. That's something unique that we did, was that as soon as we started teaching the Adjusting Ninjas training camps outside of the school, and this is how the clubs have been sustained and are growing, is that we created a 6-month module system that we gifted to everybody that takes a training camp. So what happens is you take a training camp, and then like the next day you get access to an online 6-month training program where we include 2 training sessions fully written out a week. So you get 2 sessions a week written out for 6 months with all the supporting videos and everything to actually know what the hell we're talking about. And so what we were able to do is then, as we went to these different places, was help create what we call facilitators, which are people on campuses that are able to lead these training basically sessions in the morning, and they had support material that would actually empower them to do it on their own. I was kind of frustrated at the time that a lot of these seminars would come up, and then you leave it and maybe learn 1 or 2 things, and then you'd start to forget it, and it would leave you. And so what we did was created something that people could continuously go back, rewatch a video, get a deeper understanding of it, and then they go and they show up the next day and they train it with a group. And so these students and even docs now, they're training. They're amazing. They're like ridiculous adjusters, and they're getting better than the majority of chiropractors in the profession while still in school. Why? Because they're committed to training. That's it. I couldn't imagine a sport where you only showed up to game day.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no sport. You can never be like a master at anything if you're not a lifelong student. And you see a lot of old school chiropractors that don't train anymore. And there's so much more like that they could be offering their patients, or just be like just better at their craft, or just more, tools. And so it's, just being a lifelong student, definitely. With those videos,
a lot of people think that they can be a lifelong student by just being in practice. And don't get me wrong, because you're going to learn stuff from being in practice. Yeah. However, could you imagine if you continually tried to fine tune what you were delivering in practice, outside of practice? Yeah. Because that's where you discover new layers. Just like a martial artist, they do a roundhouse, they learn a roundhouse, and they might end up getting in a fight where they land a roundhouse. But outside of the fight, they are training the roundhouse, looking for new layers of how to deliver the roundhouse.
Right. No,
It's the
exactly.
same, to me. It's the same. I've taught 34 training camps, and I've trained, I don't even know how many hours now. Like it's got to be 20, 30, 40,000 hours. I don't know, it's ridiculous amount of hours that I've put into training. And to this day, even this last camp, I discovered a new layer of one of the most fundamental things that we teach. So,
That's awesome.
and that is from and that's hours
Yeah.
and hours of, and I'm not talking about hours and hours of adjusting. That's different, because it's in the training that you really refine the adjustment.
Just the specific and the speed, the technique, just all of it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, with the training videos, is that something that people have to go to a camp to get access to? The extra videos?
So the original 6-month program, we only give out to people that have been attended a camp.
Okay.
We've also created 3 separate modules. There's a cervical module, there's a precise and powerful side posture module, and then there's a lumbar pelvic biointegrity analysis module. Those 3 have been released to the public. It can be purchased separately. The new 6-month program we're going to create will be available for the public. And so the new 21-day will be available. The new 6-month will be available. And those should be out within the next about probably 2 to 3 months is what we're looking at to having probably both those programs done. And so again, what it will include, like I said, basically 2 training sessions a week, but actually what we're moving towards is within the 21, like what does it actually look like for a full day? So you'll have 2 chiropractic specific training sessions, but then what does the mobility and recuperation look like the rest of the week? What's the mindfulness, the meditation, the morning ritual, the evening revision, like all of that? I mean, there's a lot that goes into living life to its fullest, within a system that continually helps you bring you to the now.
Right.
And so that's the bigness of it, because it's a lifestyle, and it's, ninjas has become basically a microcosm of my life. Like the components that go into a ninja's training session is how I choose to live my life, and that's connected.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. And I saw you guys are making a documentary about like the camp process, right? That's really cool. When are you expecting to see that out?
It's partially done. It should be done within the next week. So, we're still figuring out how we want to release that. There's going to potentially be, so this is going to be on level 1. There'll be a documentary about level 1. There'll be a documentary about level 2, which is called adaptations. So the first one's foundations, second's adaptations. And then we're teaching our first level 3 at the end of the year this year, so November. And I imagine there'll be a documentary on that. So by the time we're done with the docs, we'll have a full, you put the 3 pieces together, you'll have like a 2-hour documentary. And, yeah, so that should be out in the next couple of weeks, and then we're probably going to do screenings of it first, and then put it out. I haven't fully figured out the release. The goal is just to create something something that symbolizes and represents what it is that we're doing, because people like to make judgments about what they don't know, and so hopefully, if they're actually interested in understanding, the doc will give some of the depth of what is experienced within a camp.
Yeah, and just build more interest with these students and, help get them more engaged and excited about chiropractic in the right way, which I think is the most important. Definitely. Well, I think it's a good place to wrap it up. I know you have to, get back to the office. And, if you just want to kind of let people know the best way to follow you on social media, any websites, just to keep up with everything that you have going on. And then I'll also include the links in the show notes.
Beautiful. At Dr. Brett Jones on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. And the big thing that I would love to invite everybody to, that if you want to explore what artistry is within chiropractic, the artfulconvention.com. At the end of this year, December 29th through 31st, we're bringing some of the top chiropractic artists from around the world to have an experience. Meaning that typical seminars, a speaker on stage, kind of yelling at you, and then maybe there's a little bit of integration. But what we're looking to do is have a full experience, meaning, yes, the artist will present for about 15 minutes, but then the entire group of attendees will then train whatever the artist presented. And there will be breath work, there will be meditation, there will be movement, there will be art, there will be music. So it's going to be basically like a festival in the art of chiropractic. If you're interested in that, look up the Artful Convention where you can get more details, and we would love to have you there.
That's awesome. Is that in California?
That'd be in the Bay Area, yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Brett. And like I said, I'll put all of the links up in the show notes, so that way you can keep up with what he's doing. He's, really doing some amazing work, and I know the profession really appreciates everything that you're putting out there. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Casey.